It's a lovely piece. Good morning, good morning. Welcome to United Unitarian Universalist Congregation on this kind of cloudy but pleasant Mother's Day, I'd say. My name is David Kraemer, minister at this church. Helping with today's service are Meg Whaley and Alex Chilsen and Aaron Hurwitz. A few things to lift up before we begin. There's a lot going on in the congregation here. First thing is, we have a kind of a creative project going in this month when our theme is creativity. There are two ways that you are invited to participate. One is by taking those kind of black cards there that are in the basket at the front and scratch them off with a design of your choosing and reveal your inner rainbow. They're intended to be used that way so that you can bring them back and we'll hang them around the sanctuary as you go through that. The second way is to participate in some questions that are being distributed in your Tuesday email and also online. You can find them on our website. Each week is a different question. It's just a 1-2 phrase answer. Your answers will be used then to construct a poem for this congregation. And Sam Silver, Mary Beth Danielson, I believe Jennifer, you're in on this project too, are working to pull together the pieces for that. I want to make some important announcements about things that are happening in coming weeks. So on the scroll earlier with these slides, we're going to start with this one. So upcoming services next week. Next week, we will be outside. We will have David Bodo, a Menominee member of the Menominee tribe, who will hear and who will lead us through a ritual tree planting. We think we're going to plant it out there right next to the parking lot. The Diggers Hotline folks still have not quite finished, but we think we have a spot for it. So just be aware that we will be entirely outside for service next week. We will not be streamed or recorded. And after next Sunday's service, we will have coffee hour downstairs as normal, and we do plan to have a meeting of the Social Action Committee and anyone who is interested in our social justice efforts as we talk about ways that we may reorganize our committees and what we are doing there. A couple other things. Annual meeting is June 11th, and June 18th is Flower Communion. June 25th, we will have a General Assembly watch party. That means that we'll have the screen set up here in the service, and we will be streaming the General Assembly worship service from Pittsburgh. And then on the 2nd is a picnic. Important is that through the summer, the three UU congregations in close proximity here, Brookfield, us, and Heartland, are conspiring to host each other throughout the summer. So this means that we will have 2 Sundays a month in which you will be here in this, or you can be here in this sanctuary. And 2 Sundays a month, you're invited to join the other 2 congregations, either in person or online. There's various ways of going about this. So we'll get more information in the schedule out, but just be aware that we are going to be visiting through the summertime. Okay? Yeah, Declan, question.
On those Sundays,
yeah.
You won't be here?
Correct. Correct. There will not be a service here in this sanctuary. One option is that if folks here wanted to gather here and stream the service from the other locations, you can do that, which would give you a third option for participating, I guess. But I'm going to let you all work that out for yourselves, whether you want to do that. Individually, in person, online. And we'll have links out for all of those services. Okay? Yeah, carpool. Yeah. Here, go ahead.
I think we have a great opportunity also to carpool, so we could get together beforehand and figure out who wants to ride with who and go and see these churches that we hear a lot about, but we don't necessarily get to see in person.
Ellen.
So for us older people, could
We'll do something like that. This is we just finalized this last week, so this is the first that I actually put it together. And sure, we'll get there. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Okay. Yes, so this is important. So the other two churches start at 10 o'clock. So, we will continue to start at 10:30, but the other two churches do start at 10 o'clock. I was unable to convince them to change their start times to 10:30 to accommodate us. Sorry. Any other questions about that? Okay? Not yet. Today is Mother's Day, and we are talking bucket lists. So we'll have some interesting stuff to say. Meg and I are going to play off each other, and then you to also jump in and help. And now, Isabel. I haven't talked to you about this, but would you come up and help us light our chalice? Now, please join me as we begin our service with words on the wall or in your order of service. May this flame kindle within us the warmth of compassion, the glow of love, the fire of commitment, and the light of truth. Here together we scatter and nurture seeds of spirit, service, and community. Perfect. Now let's sing together. Hymn number 361 in your gray hymnals if you are following, or here on the wall. Enter, rejoice, and come in.
Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. And come in. Open your ears to the song. Open your ears to the song. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your hearts, everyone. Open your hearts, everyone. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Don't be afraid of some change. Don't be afraid of some change. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Walking with you is our prayer.
Start the story. I'm going to try something and read from here. Can you guys see? Okay, cool. All right, my story is Oregon's Journey. This came from Mary Beth Danielson. It's got her name in it. So I bet her kids know this story. We met at a circus in Pittsburgh, Oregon, and watching him from behind the red curtain, I felt like a child again. But after my performance, I would walk him back to his cage. One evening, Oregon spoke to me. "Take me to the big forest, Duke." At first, I did not know what to say. But back at my trailer, I knew that Oregon should be among other bears, deep in the beautiful forest of spruce trees. Perhaps there, I, a dwarf, might meet Snow White. When the final performance was over, we walked out into the dark night. We had no luggage nor any need for pocket-bulging keys. I looked around and guessed that the big forests with pine trees and rivers full of fish were not nearby. We had to move on. Miles later, Pittsburgh and its ash-colored sky were far in the past. We bought 2 one-way tickets to Chicago. 300 hamburgers later, my savings were gone. But I didn't mind. I was happy to make this journey with Oregon. At dawn, we hitched a ride with a man heading to Iowa. He said he was on his way to America's breadbasket. Just talking about food made Oregon hungry. Why do you wear white makeup and a red nose when you're no longer in the circus? The man asked me. Because they've become part of me, I answered. It isn't easy being a dwarf. Nor is it easy being a black man, he said. We understood each other. We parted in the morning. I had a promise to keep, and there was still a long ways to go. My red hair blowing in the wind, I went through landscapes as beautiful as Van Gogh's paintings. We walked through hail, we snacked in cornfields, we snoozed in the warm grass, we dreamed under the stars, the birds were our alarm clock, the streams, our baths, the whole world belonged to us. Carried by the wind of the Great Plains with sore feet and my thumb pointed to the sky, we were on our way to the Rocky Mountains. A traveling salesman, a hopeful actress, and a Navajo elder took us further on our way. But at dusk, we were so exhausted that all we could do was sleep. We spent the night in an old abandoned Chevrolet. First thing in the morning, we hopped on a moving train to finish the last leg of our trip. With Oregon as a pillow, I dozed off, watching the cows go by. And when I woke up, there it was. With just a few steps, Oregon forgot all his years in captivity. Oregon in Oregon, I had kept my promise. I walked into the white morning, light at heart, and happy. And that's my story. Children can go out with Lily right now, okay? Let's sing them out.
Lifted up, love bless your way. Moonlight, starlight, guide your journey into peace and the brightness of day.
Join me in a few moments of quiet reflection, meditation, prayer. in this month of our exploration of creativity. And on this day, may we consider creation, creators, the makers. Words from Reverend Marcus Liefert. Blessed are the makers. You may wish to substitute the word mothers, if you wish. O you who are makers, makers of beauty, of paintings and pottery and sculpture, blessed is the making. You who make with hands and hearts and minds, who make out of breath and bones and blood human lives, blessed are the makers. Blessed are those who make us laugh, who make jokes and faces and toys. Blessed are those who make messes, who make trouble and friends, and when needed, make up. Blessed are those who make do, who make it last, make it work, make beds, and make time for others. Blessed are those who make love, who make out and make more and make mistakes. Blessed are those who make coffee and tea, who make conversation, who make meaning in the face of tragedy and awaken joy. Who make peace, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed be. Let's sing together, Spirit of Life. You may remain seated.
Month ago. I don't know when David wrote it on there, on the worship calendar in our Google Docs. I saw Meet Your Maker. What do you really need to do before you die? And I put in pink underneath here. So David and I met, and he said, "What do you love about it?" And the answer is multi-layered. So the first thing that came up for me was thinking back to an assignment that I used to give my students in our outdoor adventure class. The magazine Outside had a feature article titled "The 365-Day Bucket List," a user's list for all the travel, fun, and affiliated delights you can cram into a year. So I copied all of the article and made a class set and gave it to my students. And I wanted them to read through the article and get excited about the activities that they could do and make a list so that they could, well, they were 16 and 17 years old. What were they really going to do with this? Why did I want them to write a bucket list? So first of all, what is a bucket list? According to Stanford University, the bucket list is defined as a list of things that one has not done before but wants to do before dying. And again, these students were 16, 17 years old. Did I really want them to think about death? Maybe, but in a more symbolic way. So the symbolic meaning of a bucket list is a tangible recognition of our morality, or mortality. Maybe morality too. It allows us to reflect on what matters most to us, on our personal values, and identify important life milestones and experiences that we want to have before a certain milestone in our life, like high school graduation, college graduation, before entry into the real work world, before marriage, before kids, before the summer ends, before age 20, 30, 40, 50. It didn't have to be before they died. I just wanted them to open up their minds to something bigger than Menominee Falls, Wisconsin. I wanted them to explore some of the magnificent things that this magical earth has to offer and daydream. To think about the future with hope that they too could see the northern lights, go solo camping, play in the waves of the Great Lakes, scuba dive with sharks, go heli-skiing, whitewater raft through the Grand Canyon, hike the Camino de Santiago, to find something to look forward to, an answer to, why do I have to do this? Which, thinking back to your school days, whether that be high school or college or trade school, I'm guessing that all of us can relate to, why do I have to do this? Why do I have to jump through one more hoop? Well, it's because we maybe get to look forward to some really cool things that we get to write on our bucket list. So I'm at the age where a bucket list seems even more relevant. How much time do I really have left? What do I really want to do with that time? What are the things that really matter to me? What do I value? What should I put on my bucket list? A couple of Mondays ago, while crafting at MakUUrs Space, which if you have not come yet, it is a super fun time where people bring crafts that they've been working on, or we have a lot of materials that you can pick from to do. It doesn't really matter what you do. It's a time to be creative and a time to share together in community the act of creativity. Even if you are not an artist, you don't have to be, because I'm not an artist. And, there's lots of definitions of artist, which Marcia could probably tell me that, so. But it is a very fun time. And I asked the group at my table, what is the craziest thing on your bucket list? So I didn't know at that time that I would be talking to you about this today. It was just a fun question, but as I found out, answering it also meant being vulnerable. So will people think that I'm too crazy? Not crazy enough. If I say it out loud, does it mean that I really have to do it? So because what happens at MakUUrs Space stays at MakUUrs Space, I will only tell you my answer. And my answer was, I want to sing the song Kiss by Prince on a karaoke night before I die. That's your cue. There we go. Yep. Okay. There we go. No. Ooh. Ah. So sitting down to write this message, I reflected on some of the things that I could already check off. Some people call it making a reverse bucket list. So some of the highlights: graduated from high school, check. Be the first person in my family to graduate from college, own a house, marry the love of my life, love and be loved by a child who calls me mama. I have solo camped, been whitewater rafting, which I'm okay with never going whitewater rafting again, FYI. I saw a meteor shower in Wyoming that was so close. I swore that I could just reach out and catch one of them. I have touched 3 oceans, have kayaked on Great Lakes, and seen the northern lights. I have been to 51 of the 66 state parks in Wisconsin, and I'm a certified scuba diver. The reason why I think it's important to add to this list, and why I asked Monica to write a list with me, is that it will help us to re-clarify our values, set goals, to engage in activities that really matter to us, both as individuals and as a couple. It is a measurable form of progress, and I personally love being able to cross things off the list. And it will give us things to look forward to and help us to bring some intentional creativity into our lives. We could easily research articles in magazines or do a search with our friend Google and come up with many additional things to add to our bucket list, like kiss while standing near the Eiffel Tower, walk across hot coals while holding hands, eat insects for dinner, and recommit our vows to each other while bungee jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge. Yes, I actually found those ideas on Google. But after maybe brainstorming, and we still have to do this, so we haven't done this yet, so this is just a plan. I think it would be a good plan to brainstorm for 20 to 30 minutes and not include any of those things. Ideas large and small, maybe do some mind mapping. So we're both very visual people, and I wanted to make sure that everybody knew what a mind map was. So mind mapping would be like, so putting us in the middle, and then things that are important, like areas of our lives that are important. So what could one thing be? Like maybe family. Oops, not a T, L-Y, there we go. I'm terrible at writing while I'm talking at the same time. Family, what else? Travel, we want to travel. Our house, maybe finances. You get the picture. And then off of each one of these things could go several different things on the list. And hopefully I'm not making it sound too boring by writing some of these things that I wrote down. Maybe family, friends, hobbies, work, home, time, travel, health, finances, spirituality, and just write out as many hopes and dreams as we can think of under each one. Next, I think it would be important to maybe go through the list and start to cross things off. To quote Marie Kondo from her book and Netflix show, and Morgan Freeman from the movie The Bucket List, will this bring me joy? Will this bring others joy? What value does this align to? Is this something we think we should do, or is it something we want to do, or is it both? So I really do not want to organize our basement this summer, and the thought of that does not bring me any joy at all, but I know that once it's done, I will feel an immense amount of joy. So that probably is going to go on the bucket list and not be crossed off. How would this make our lives better? Is this really feasible? So I could put like running a marathon on there. Really not feasible. I'm just not at that point. I don't even want to run a marathon, so not feasible. Cross that one off right away if it got stuck on there for some reason. Asking these questions does not mean that crazy things can't stay on the list. I'm guessing that my rendition of Kiss will not bring Prince joy. He might possibly roll over in his grave, but hopefully will make a couple of people laugh and will make me laugh as well. I would like to also put things into like time categories. So kind of like what is it called? And what is it called when you make a 5-year kind of thing? Like it's called something. Long-range plan. There we go, that. And just setting goals, long-range plans, so like in 1 year, in 3 years, in 5 years, or just a like whenever you can check them off list. I think that would be kind of cool too. And once we have that list and we feel comfortable with it, I would like to post it on our bulletin board so we can see it every day and start to cross things off. So looking back, I have already done some pretty amazing things in my life. And going forward, I hope that writing a bucket list will help us be more intentional with our lives, more intentional with what we value, more intentional with what really matters to us, more intentional creativity, and more intentional joy. I'll move this back.
Never mind what Meg just said. When I wrote that title, I had exactly the opposite idea in mind, whether we should have a bucket list at all. It came from a column in the New York Times by Kate Bowler, who's an assistant professor of history of Christianity in North America at Duke Divinity School, who, at age 35, was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer with little chance of surviving. The column in the Times was titled, "One Thing I Don't Plan to Do Before I Die is Make a Bucket List." A bucket list disguises a dark question as a challenge, she writes. What do you want to do before you die? We all want, in the words of Henry David Thoreau, to live deep and suck out all the marrow of life. But is the answer to that desire a set of experiences? Should we really focus on how many moments we can collect? The column goes on to disparage how widespread and commercialized bucket lists have become ever since the movie with Jack Nicholson and Morgan Freeman, 2007. The history of the phrase itself is macabre, a horrible reference to the act of either kicking the bucket from under your own feet or having it knocked out from underneath you, a homicide. Now there are hundreds of top 10 things to do or to eat or to drink or to add to your bucket list, and all of them, Bowler says, are a form of experiential capitalism. Instead of helping us grapple with our finitude, they approximate infinity. They imply that with unlimited time and resources, we can do anything, be anyone. We can become more adventurous by jumping out of airplanes, more traveled by visiting every continent, more cultured by reading the most famous books of all time. With the right list, we will never starve with the hunger of want. Bowler's specialty is the history of the prosperity gospel in America, the belief that God grants health and wealth to those with the right kind of faith. This is closely related to the Calvinistic idea of the elect, which we talked about last week. Calvin says it's impossible to know who is among God's chosen, but if things seem to be working out well for you, then obviously God is smiling upon you. You are, in popular jargon, blessed. She goes on about this word blessed quite a bit. It's the title of her book. Blessed has this note of humility, a kind of an acknowledgement that if you are wealthy, it's not all your fault. You are just blessed. But that's arch too, because we all get a little sanctimonious about our wealth. We feel like we must deserve it for some reason. For the prosperity gospel folks, it's because they believe. They choose to believe, and by necessity, God chooses then to reward them. There's a guarantee. Follow these rules, and God will reward you. It's not far from there to the bootstrap myth, the American ideal of the self-made person. Horatio Alger's stories and present-day legislation to pile work requirements for anyone receiving government help for groceries or for heat bills. Bootstrapping is a myth in the completely made-up sense. It ignores all of the connections that we have that make us who we are. It ignores the army of Amazon workers, for example, whose labors prop up Jeff Bezos. It devalues anyone who had a hand in raising you, devaluing mothers on Mother's Day. Do you know that the phrase "pull yourself up by your bootstraps" dates back to 1834 and was used to describe a particular bloviating politician who, in this columnist's snarkiness, might just lift himself up by his own bootstraps and hand himself over the Cumberland River? It was used to describe an absurdity. Now it's an ideal. So anyway, you can see how Bowler comes to be skeptical about accumulating experiences on a bucket list, a form of experiential capitalism. We might say we are blessed if we have a huge bucket list, we might say. What strange math, she says. There is nothing like the tally of a life, all of our accomplishments ridiculous, all of our striving unnecessary. Our lives are unfinished and unfinishable. We do too much, never enough, and are done before we've even started. On Thursday morning, as I started to pull together pieces for this service, I got a message from a dear old friend from high school who was just diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Same age as me, neither chosen nor condemned, just reminded of the randomness and the certainty of death. I had a full day ahead of me, but that morning all I wanted to do was stare out the window. Bowler writes, a few years ago, the father of one of my divinity students discovered that he was in the last months of life. Much to everyone's astonishment, his father didn't have a wish list. In fact, his father didn't wish for anything at all. Not a trip, not a meal. He sat contentedly in his overstuffed recliner in the living room, humming about how much he loved his family. So I have been one to follow Thoreau's challenge to do as Meg suggests, actually, to live deep and suck out all the marrow, hitchhiking across the United States, riding a bike across Iowa, sailing the Great Lakes, paddling wild rivers, walking the Camino. If these things have not exactly been part of a bucket list, they do count in my personal ledger. I will probably not stop piling up these experiences. After last year's hike, Wisconsin is now calling. I have a canoe I want to build, and I'd love to travel more in Europe. But maybe I should let go of the experiential capital they represent. Maybe I need to be more like the guy in the recliner, humming. I'm reminded of a reading from the back of your hymnal, Transcendental Etude by Adrian Rich. No one ever told us we had to study our lives, make of our lives a study as if learning natural history or music. That we should begin with the simple exercises first and slowly go on trying the hard ones, practicing till strength and accuracy become one with the daring to leap into transcendence. And in fact, we can't live like that. We take on everything at once before we've even begun to read or mark time. We're forced to begin in the midst of the hardest movement, the one already sounding, as we are born. Our lives are unfinished and unfinishable. There will always be things I didn't get to, things I wish I'd done differently, plans I didn't even know I had made. Maybe we can call all of this the hole in the bucket list. Dear Liza, dear Liza. On that note, there's a hole in a couple of offering plates at the back of the sanctuary. I would invite the ushers to come forward now as we receive our weekly offering. It's a part of what it takes to maintain this ministry, this sense of community. Please give generously. So in an effort to live into a phrase I found in a book just a little bit ago, less prep, more presence, we thought we'd have a little bit of time for some dialogue. We offered sort of a point-counterpoint, and so we thought we would reflect a little bit on each other's messages and then open up for you for reflection as well. I want to say that when I was 17, the end of summer was the end of my life.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that works. And why do I have to do this? That's always my question. I think that actually the taking stock of what matters most is what is important, and I think that that's what Kate Bowler also was trying to say in this article, and she might be pointing out how popular culture has moved bucket lists into a different realm. It does seem to me that taking stock of your life, identifying what matters most, is what we're about here. And I am an inveterate list maker. I make lists upon lists and lists that overlap lists, and I like to hang on to them, so even after they're done, just to say, hey, look, I'm admiring my work.
Mm-hmm. So I didn't know I was supposed to take notes on this. But
You gotta make a list.
I had to make a list, yes, I do. But Kate Bowler is one of my favorite people to read. And she also has a podcast that I cannot remember the name of right now, but it'll come to me probably when other people are talking. So I respect her thoughts immensely. And I was sitting back there listening and thinking, yeah, okay, I can see that. I don't like the commercialization of bucket lists, and I don't think it means that we have to keep on trying to one up even ourselves. I have to do this, and not be a stressful thing, but like you pointed out again, to redefine what really matters to us. That I would be at a point in my life what feels like so quickly. Just yesterday, I was in elementary school, right? It has not been 57 years. And I think about, I was thinking about this last night and didn't want to be too macabre, but all the things that I've missed, all the time I've wasted. And I can think back to periods of time where I feel like maybe I have wasted some time. Like, could I have been using that time better? And that's probably another whole sermon of, are we really wasting time? But you or the creativity team wrote this, like the intentional creativity. And I love that phrase. Like, that was one that I think really sat with me. And Monica, actually, her word for the year is intentional or intentionality. And it was my word for the year a while ago. And I really feel that with the bucket list. Like that intentional creativity, trying to live more intentional in however long I have left. So it, might be tomorrow, hopefully not. But and I'm not going to be sad. I think when I'm 104 and looking back at the list and seeing all the things that we haven't crossed off yet, I don't think I'm going to be sad at not crossing those off. I hope that I look back and look at those things that were crossed off and think, wow, like we did that? That's so cool. So I'm going to end there.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So how about you? Do you all have bucket lists? Did this swear you off of your bucket lists? What have you thought while you're sitting there? The list for the rest of the day? My bucket list for Mother's Day? Anybody?
I think there's a slight note of jealousy in some bucket lists, that people write bucket lists that look like other people's bucket lists, whether they know that or not, because they think that this is what I wish my life was like. This is what I wish, and I think especially the idea of I wish through travel I wish to become more worldly, as if going to the designated tourist spots of the world is worldly, and there's a natural nomadicism that some people have, whether they like it or not, that puts them in that travelness. And so my thought was that bucket lists, if you are going to make them, have to be natural. They have to be, there's some things that we can push ourselves to do, really strong urges we have to do certain things that we are maybe afraid of, but that's a natural part. That is a natural part. And so looking and having a list that's travel, scuba diving, whitewater rafting, and climbing a mountain, like is that a natural part of you, of your being, of your path,
Yeah.
or is it a desire to not have the path that you have and somebody else's?
Yeah. That's great. If you could not hear that, Declan's talking about how bucket lists sometimes are, can I say this, copied from other people, or, we measure ourselves against others sometimes with bucket lists, and if a bucket list is to be true, it needs to be natural for you, an extension of what you are all about, rather than the list of things to do. Sarah?
Along that same line, it sort of occurs to me when people make bucket lists, especially with these grand things on them, like, there's a certain level of privilege sort of assumed.
Yeah.
Right? Like, yeah, it's a bucket list, well, there's great things on it, but like, those things cost money. And some people, if they think that's supposed to be their bucket list, but they're not gonna have the ability to do that, then they just like sit there feeling bad about it, right? Which isn't really the intention at all.
Yeah. Yeah, Sarah points out the privilege that's sometimes implied, especially kind of exotic bucket lists, or things that are not things that not everyone can do. I think I heard that in Kate as well.
Yeah. And I when I was doing some research on this, I saw someone who printed a blog, or who wrote out a blog that said, once you have your bucket list done, you should like share it with the world and, show everybody what you're doing. And I thought, no, like and not because someone can come up to me and say, hey, did you climb Mount Everest? You had that on your bucket list. Not that, but to stop that from happening, to stop that from happening. To my bucket list is my personal bucket list. And I don't need to compare my bucket list to your bucket list to your bucket list. We all have different things, and I want it to be something that, like I said, that really reflects values rather than some far out thing that, I don't know, like running a marathon. I think Patty had her hand raised first, and then you.
I will not be able to think of whose quote this is and whether it's something I read or something in a song, but the line is, life is what happens while you were making other plans. And the two of you have brought that. The stuff in my basement is stuff that I stuck out of the way while I was making other plans. You and I did not know about making it, but
Yeah.
I'm in that process, and I'll be saying or Romani a couple times while I'm doing it more because it's going to take me months. But the bucket list, the movie that you brought up, and the things that have been said, the rising action in the storyline rises to the point in my mind where Jack Nicholson's grumpy character gets to check off kiss the most beautiful girl in the world. And it's his granddaughter who we never met until that moment. That, the things we put on the bucket list, the most beautiful girl in the world, and the recognition that it's a person who isn't famous and isn't, it's the junk you find in your basement that you suddenly go, I have been looking for this. And I got a lot of lists that I've kept thinking I want to look at them again, and I'm throwing those out.
Yeah, that's good. Patty says, life is what happens when you are making other plans, and the stuff in your basement often is where you might find the most beautiful thing of all. Yeah.
I think Monty was next, and then.
So, I struggle with this because I don't like the words bucket list.
Ah,
I like the words goals or achievements that are more personally driven for me, or for us as a family, those kind of goals that are more intrinsic and more pure to who we are. So I would just say, like, my life goal, or one thing that I want to attain, or, and it's not money, it's not fame, it's not things like that. It's experiences more.
yeah. Yeah. Monty says goals rather than bucket lists, and experiences more than
Things.
accomplishments or things. Yeah. Yeah.
Had an epiphany yesterday that relates to this. For about a year, I've been planning in my mind to create a dream collage because it's a new phase of my life. And yet I can't seem to find any dreams that I have to put on to work with. And yet, we went to dinner last night, and much to my husband's chagrin, again, I talked to the server about his face because I'm so transfixed with faces. I've taken a few drawing courses years ago, but it's people's faces that I always am amazed with.
Oh.
And of course, Joseph goes, oh, you're embarrassing me. And I realized in that moment, I don't have to find a dream. I just have to get out that drawing paper and do what I've been, proceed with what I've been doing for years and years and years, and draw people's faces.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm studying with Mary and she's a great spiritual teacher, universal spirituality,
It's nice. It's back to what Meg was saying about intentionality. I like that phrase, living by default or by design. I like that. Yeah,
Kind of rewriting your story.
yeah, yeah. Declan, one more time, and then, yeah, go.
I just, a realization on the privilege is that sometimes we forget the privilege of stability, energy, discipline, and those things. It's like you can make a bucket list as deep or natural as you want, but getting to do those things takes so much time, and more time than you expect, and more discipline than you expect, and more of yourself than sometimes we recognize in ourselves.
Yeah, I confess all the time, it's the discipline that gets me.
Yeah, like cleaning out the basement.
So, continue this downstairs afterwards. Patty's reflection made me think of a time when I met a man who was building a sailboat in his basement. Like a full-size sailboat. And there was no way he was ever going to get this boat out of the house without taking the house apart. That didn't matter. Simply building the boat in the basement. Let's sing together. Hymn number 128, For All That Is Our Life. Please rise and bow to your spirit.
For all that is our life, we give our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad. For needs which others serve, for services we give, for work and its rewards, for hours of rest and love, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, sorrow we must bear, for failures, pain, and loss, for each new thing we learn, for fearful hours we pass, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad.
Following Alex's postlude, please join us for coffee and conversation below the service. And when you go, go in love, seek justice, find peace. And happy Mother's Day, Mom.
I'm trying to tell you something about my life. Maybe give me insight between black and white. And the best thing you've ever done for me, help me take my life less seriously. It's only life after all. Well, darkness has a hunger that's insatiable. on your shores. Seek solace in a bottle.